This is the Sri Ramana Maharshi Satsang, a time to listen, reflect, and deeply meditate. Know yourself and be always free and at peace. Now, welcome. I'm Richard Clarke, hosting this satsang. I'm not a teacher or a guru. I'm just someone who loves this teaching and wants to share it with like-minded people. I'm reviewing and commenting on the book Talks with Sri Ramana Maharshi, and today we'll talk about Talk 56. Let me get it on screen. A youth of 20 asked how to realize the self. He sat down in silence and waited more than an hour, then was about to leave. While doing so, he asked how to realize self. The Maharshi said, "Whose self? Find out." He said, "Who am I?" Maharshi said, "Find it yourself." The young man said, "I do not know." Maharshi said, "Think. Who is it that says, 'I do not know'? What is not known? In that statement, who is the I?" The young man says, "Somebody in me." The Maharshi continues to ask and says, "Who is the somebody? In whom?" The young man says, "Maybe some power." Maharshi says, "Find it." How to realize Brahman. And Maharshi says, "Without knowing the self, why do you seek to know Brahman?" The young man says, "The Shastras say Brahman pervades all, and me too." Maharshi says, "Find the I in me, and then there'll be time to think about Brahman." The young man asks, "Why was I born?" And Maharshi responds, "Who was born?" The answer is the same for all your questions. The young man asks again, "Who am I then?" The Maharshi, smiling, says, "Have you come to examine me and ask me? You must say who you are." The young man says, "The body is composed of 5 elements. What are the elements?" And the Maharshi replies, "Without knowing the self, how do you aim at knowing the elements?" The young man sat a while and left with permission. The master remarked later, "All right, it will work." And questioning how to realize the self. This is India. People grow up in a culture that has self-realization not only as something that's generally known about, but as the highest goal within the society. India is a place where sadhus, renunciate monks, are revered and provided for. They are an integral part of what is known as the 4 orders of life that everybody moves through during their lifetime: student, householder, forest dweller, renunciate. So the young man asks, "How do I achieve what is the highest goal within my society? How do I realize the self? Ramana immediately directs him to the practice of self-inquiry. Whose self? Find out. Ramana doesn't give the questioner's mind anything to mull over. Rather, he directs him to question, to hold to the don't know mind instead of the mind that seems to know so much. This don't know is fundamental to the spiritual search. It's only when you don't know that you'll be open to exploring and learning new things. So Ramana answers the question with a doubt. The dialogue continues. The young man replies, find it yourself. The young man asks the question, who am I? Back to Ramana. Ramana, of course, responds that the questioner must find this out for themselves. No one can tell you who you are as if you were some kind of object. You have to find out yourself. Yourself is not an object, not any kind of object. It is non-objective. I say it this way, since calling the self a subject instead of an object just keeps it within the subject-object duality. The self is non-dual. It's not an element within a pair of dualities. Non-dual means there is no alternative to the self. Who else, what else could you possibly be than who you are already? The dialogue continues. Maharshi says, think. Who is it that says, I do not know? What is not known? In that statement, who is the I? The young man says, somebody in me. Maharshi asks, who is the somebody? In whom? The young man says, maybe some power. Maharshi says, find it. Then Ramana focuses on the actual inquiry, giving the questioner specific questions he should investigate. Who is it that says, I don't know? You say you don't know. Who is it that does not know? You say, I know. You say, I don't know. Both these start with I. Just who do you mean when you say I? Usually we never think about this. It seems obvious. You answer the questions with I and me, but exactly who do you mean? You point to this body. Is this body I? Is it the personality? The personality is from the mind. It learns and changes over a lifetime. Is the personality I? Is the personality the unchanging reality? As you investigate this I, you see that the body changes, the mind changes, the personality changes, the idea of ourself changes, but there is something within us that does not. This something notes the changing body and mind and personality. When looking for the I, you realize that you realize you won't find it in all these changing things. It must be in what is always there. You start investigating this instead of the things that keep changing. The changing things are just appearances. And you start to see that you are not an appearance. Rather, you are that which knows these appearances. What is Who am I? When your mind tries to grapple with this question, it'll first come up with answers based on various roles and identities you hold to as if they are who you are. As you look at each of these, you start to see that none of them can be you. They all come and go while you remain. They are all things you know about, so they are external to the one that knows. After all these ideas of identity come up and are discarded, your mind comes to what seems like a blankness. This is closer to your identity than any of the ideas. When you look closely at the blankness, you see that even this is known. Who is the knower? Ramana continues to drive the inquiry deeper. Who is the somebody in whom? Find it. Ramana is relentless in his questioning. I think he guides us to be relentless in our own inquiry. What do you consider yourself to be? My teacher, Nome, says it is a matter of identity. Identity is a matter of self-knowledge. That's the power of the inquiry. It's like a light shined into the darkness. The darkness is muddy ideas about who I am. Ideas that I have just assumed are true without ever really questioning them. These are ideas that I've based my life and activity and aspirations upon. What if they're not true? Were never true. Even with this, the young man continues and again asks, who am I then? And the Maharshi, smiling, says, have you come to examine me and ask me? You must say who you are. The questioner continues to look outside of himself, asking Ramana, who am I then? This is the situation for most of us. We want happiness that lasts, and we keep looking for it in things of the world. We keep looking for it outside of ourselves, and we never really find it. But we keep looking. It must be here somewhere. This extends to the young man who asks Ramana, who am I then? Instead of looking within. After the dialogue was over and the young man had left, it seemed like Ramana felt like he had planted a seed that will grow. He said, all right, it will work. We don't see the answer until we start to question. Ramana started deep questioning in this young man. And now we'll listen to my teacher with a Nome with a discourse, Inquiry.
Any tendency to be Brahman without an end, unborn, immutable, without condition, qualityless, dependent of all that is perceptible. Knowledge is himself, for there are not two selves, only one. Therefore, inquire profar. In this, it comprehends itself. Truly are. Put the question deeply. Inquire. This is not yet realized. Who does not realize? Or what? It is unsensed and unconceived, yet you exist. How? Nothing else. Invariable, self-known existence. Who am I?
Take a few minutes to inquire. Notice that you exist, and you know that you exist. Investigate within yourself. Inquire. Who is it that says, I do not know? What is not known? And that if I am not the body, not the life force, not the thinking mind, not the knowing intellect, not the peaceful deep sleeper either, then who am I? Who am I? What is the nature of my existence? What actually exists? All right. And close with a chant. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Om. Peace, peace, peace. All right. I noticed that Ramana said, ask who is, find out who is asking the question. And Nome told us to do basically the same thing. Ask who is inquiring.
Right. I like the phrase, who is the meditator? Who is meditating?
Yes, yes. And certainly it doesn't seem like
we're not the mind, not the intellect. It's all neti, neti, neti.
Yes.
Not this, not this, not this.
Yes.
And who you are is indescribable, unutterable. So all you could say is what you're not.
Yes. Now, I do notice there are some of the Zen masters, when asked what is practice, responded, don't know. And when asked what is realization, they say, like this.
Yeah.
Bunch of smart Alex.
Oh, I think they're famous for that. And it sure, to me, again, it sure seemed like Ramana was relentless with getting the young man to ask himself.
Yeah, it seemed like he wanted Ramana to tell him who he was.
Yeah.
That's right, yes. And Ramana kept saying it doesn't work that way.
Right, yeah.
Anyway, it's good to see you, and it's good to share this time together. And so we can sit together and ask questions.
Yeah, another gem, another gem.
Yes,
Yep.
yes. Anyway,
Thank you.
namaste. See you
Namaste.
next
Thank
time.
you.
Namaste.